Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Afternoon.
All right, well, I got 401, and I know that I'm just coming on, and Jack Johnson's got the whole office full of the Grand Rapids Fire Department and the battalion chief's office. There's some familiar faces. So, hey, it's great to see those of you that are turning on your cameras, and it's great to see that you're all here today. I wanted to take the time to take care of the, it's Wednesday. It's the beginning of February. There's also another meeting that will occur tonight at 7 o'clock. Some of you have asked, why are we doing two a day? We're doing two a day two a day once a month because we're trying to engage the fire service that may already be at work or coming home, or, even some of the career departments and stuff to finishing up their training in the day. So we want to make sure that we're available, that we can talk with folks. So that was the idea of coming to you twice, if you want to say once a month. So here we go. And we wanted to, at the last Wednesday wrap up, it was the start of Mr. Stokes' career. He's now 2 weeks and 3 days into working at the Bureau of Fire Services. I will also share with you this. Robert is progressing very well, working with Dan Hammerberg, and we're looking to next Monday. We're going to flip the switch, and Robert and Dan will continue to work together to expand Robert's skills, but at that point, TJ is going to go focus on storage tanks. And I wanted to take this time. I know at the council meeting yesterday, and I see a lot of familiar names on here. I thank TJ Richardson for what he's done in the last year, being our tanks manager full-time and helping out the training division by doing reciprocity and instructor certifications. So I'm glad that he was able to help us with that, but he also needs to function as the tanks manager, and now that we have Robert on board, we'll make that move. I also am here to share with you, I'm coming fresh off of a meeting with my boss. We are getting very close to getting that posting for that certification specialist. We keep talking about that person who kind of rounds out the fire training division. There's a few steps or a few boxes that have to be crossed at civil service. But we are definitely looking forward to moving that forward. So we'll be posting that. Realistically, I don't think it'll get done this week. I'm thinking probably next week, but we'll make sure that we share that with the fire service when that position comes available. And we had a council meeting yesterday. And Jake, I see Jake is working today in Traverse City. Looks like he's wearing his uniform. I thought was a really good meeting with the training council yesterday. At one point we had, I think, 74 participants too on the call, which I think goes to show how we're able to use these virtual meetings in a very good way to get information out. And then I see a few people. Larry, I see you're on here. We got about another 20 fire officer 1 and fire officer 2 instructors through a train the trainer last night. So the Bureau of Fire Services training division burned the midnight oil last night from council meeting right into train the trainers. So Dan, Robert, thank you for that. And Larry, thanks for stepping up and wanting to be one of the instructors. And I know also one of the things that's going on out there in the world of in the fire service is the staff and command class started this week at EMU. So there's 40 people over there that have begun a 10-month journey in leadership. And so they're actively into that. So there's a lot going on. If you're watching the Wednesdays, you're seeing the postings coming out of our office, or I should say the posters. You're seeing Fire Officer 1 courses get posted. You're seeing some Fire Officer 2s that are later in the year. We got to get there with some, and there is a bunch of Fire Instructor 1 courses going on around the state. And how do I know that? Because Andrea, who actually sends out the tests, says, Marshall, I am busy sending out tests. So we know that I think just through the end of January, we had sent out 16 test packets. So there's a lot of movement that's going on there also. So thank everybody for signing up and taking those classes. And probably more important, we need to make sure that we understand that we have a lot more of these offerings, and we wouldn't be able to do it without the instructors. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that it takes the instructors to get out and host these classes. We dispersed $2.3 million statewide this year for fire training. We actually held back $80,000 for a joint fire expo. The joint fire expo was called off earlier in January, but I can share this, that since the last time we had a Wednesday wrap up, the money has been returned to those 26 counties. That was in the initial posting. Our initial motion that was made at the council meeting was to put $80,000 towards expo. However, if any fireworks safety fees were returned in January, that we would make whole in that 80 grand that we took from the 26 counties, basically. Well, since we got that whole chunk of money back, we actually distributed it, and we are on pace to distribute about $160,000 right now towards behavioral and mental health training in the 26 county or groups that have been identified throughout the state. So, and there were some new courses that were approved yesterday during the council meeting. I know Dan will be getting those out on the getting them into the Q course roster. But the money we have begun to disperse the money to the counties so that we can actually get them the money so they can start scheduling their training. Each one, we broke the state into 27 districts. The council did that. Each district is getting $5,000 to get started. So if you're keeping track of the math, 27 times 5,000, you're in about the 140 range. We had said that we would distribute it in $27,000 increments after that. So we didn't have enough to go up a whole nother band. So we held off on that. We kept it at 5,000. But we can expect that we'll get some folks that will, there will be even probably some more money coming that way. The question that I had, and I had a few people after the council meeting reach out to me last night. They said, hey, that's great. The classes are approved, but we want so-and-so to come in, or we want this EAP program to come in, or we want this group. How do we do that? And the answer is, at this point, if you have a employees assistance program, or you have an expert that you know about in your area, or somebody who has a program, they need to fill out a Q course application, and they need to get it in 2 weeks before the second Tuesday of April, so they get on the agenda and we can get that course approved. So you could use those funds to pay for that training. Okay. The part that I want to share with what's the other value of if Jake was to, I see Jake on the screen here, if Jake was to put in a class up in Traverse City, hey, they've got this EAP group and they want to bring them in, and they have this 4-hour seminar and they want to bring them in and they want to spend their money on it. They get it approved as a Q course. Okay. So the Traverse Metro area, Northwest peer support group. I know they're putting great things together up there. I don't know if I got the name 100% correct, but I'm trying. And when I say that is, I know they're doing great things, and maybe they do want to bring somebody in. They would put that together as a package. They would put it in as a Q course. If council approves it, then they could spend their funding for that. The beauty of it, though, is by the virtue of them putting in the Q course and getting it approved, that Jack Johnson in Grand Rapids could say, hey, I want to bring that person down here to Kent County or Montcalm County because we have some money to do that. So once a Q course is approved, and then maybe Ted says, hey, he's up in the Keweenaw up that way, and he says, hey, tell me about that class, Kevin. And I said, well, I'm hearing great things. And he says, well, we want to bring them up, that person up here. And that's kind of how we, if you want to say, grow our way into this sustainable way to address mental health across the Michigan Fire Service. So there will always be the opportunity to add classes. I also know that there's a ton of talent across the state, folks that are doing a lot of really cool stuff. There is also a lot of people that are doing some really cool stuff that are on this call today. If you have a program and maybe you haven't got it approved yet, now would be the time to submit that, put it into the process, get it approved as a Q course so that we can make this available to every firefighter across the state of Michigan. Once a Q course is approved, it's approved for the future so that we could have other ideas. And I've heard that from a few of you in the last few days. Hey, Kevin, we've already done some of the mental health stuff, even with our regular money that we had from our county. What else is there? And like I said, I think the sky is kind of the limit in the sense of if you want to bring somebody in or somebody, find out how much it costs, submit the application, and every training council meeting, there's an opportunity to get these courses approved so that we can spend money on that. So at that point, is there any questions on the mental health stuff? I really wanted to open this up. If there's somebody, please go ahead and share if you have any questions about understanding how that even works. I think there's been, well, in the interim too, I had a training coordinator if it's 4 or 5 counties in your area, one's going to be the fiduciary. We sent out a memo on that, and then people are declaring that. And then people wondered, well, how do you disperse the money? The idea is to kind of do it in a regional effort. And those groups, they kind of decide whether or not, or how they're going to spend the money. I've had this question posed to me. Hey, listen, I'm in a four county area and I'm the only one who wants to do anything. Can I spend the whole 5,000? I said, as long as you've offered it to the other, the other 3 counties, their chance to be in. If they choose not to be in, yes, you can. Okay. So, sometimes it's, somebody taking the initiative and actually scheduling some classes and getting it rolling. And then we hope that it grows out of that. The other way around, we could, maybe you pick an area that's kind of central to those 4 or 5 counties and you say, hey, on this day, we're going to have it at this, I don't know, we're going to have it at this place, and you set it up for that, then you're able to do that. You look at you got a lot of these bigger churches around in your communities and stuff that seat thousands of people. Could you social distance in a lot of those places? Absolutely, right? So, one of the things to look at is, and then also money that was used within the, for that, area. If you were to take a church that, let's say, had the ability to put 1,000 people in it with 6-foot distance, we can put 300 people in it, and out of your 4 or 5 counties only 100 people sign up, then there's 200 seats available, right? We ask you push it far and wide, use the ability to use the gov delivery and let people know that those classes are out there so that we can get some of the word out so that people come to some of that stuff. That's what we're really trying to do here. Okay. Holly, you got a few things on a list, don't you?
Yeah, Amy Dunn's got her hand up, Kevin.
Oh, hi, Amy. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, Kevin. Hey, question on that mental.
Downriver area.
Staying pretty busy, pretty steady.
Okay. Yeah. What's your question?
On that mental health money, I know that we were focusing on primarily for our mental health. What about preparing for mental health emergencies in the community, as with any patients or people we might run into?
So to actually use that money to put on a class for the citizens?
No, to put on for us, but how to deal with acute mental emergencies.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. If you or somebody had that topic, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the idea here is to get a better understanding of mental health as a whole. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thanks.
You'd have to submit it as a Q course. Okay.
Right.
And with that kind of, what's going to happen in the classes is what we're trying to do. The other thing is that what about our family members that live in our house, right? So, there's To the Rescue is a group. It's a couple of people who get out and about the state. They've actually got 2 more classes approved yesterday. And their whole approach is that they tell people, you bring who you want to bring to the thing. It's not just the firefighters, it's the spouses, it's the kids. If you have older kids that maybe want to know more about the stuff that we're dealing with, so they can get a better chance to understand it. It definitely is there. And there again, that's by instructor. That's not everybody, but I know that To the Rescue folks, one of their courses, they actually involve the families. And I've seen people post stuff that some of the spouses and stuff have said, now I understand it a little bit more, and they get a better idea of they're glad they went to the class. So, any questions? Holly, what else you got on the list?
We have some news about the rules if they didn't hear about it already yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got a little bit more news today too, as we've learned a little bit more. So if you were at the council meeting yesterday, you found out that we've moved the rules process far enough ahead that we're ready to do the public hearing. And there was a lot of work that was put in to get to that point. I can tell you this, I don't have the exact date and time locked in, other than I can tell you it will be the third week of March right now. We've got to see for the availability of a court reporter and some other things, but the third week of March, that public hearing for the training rules will also be done virtually. So you won't have to travel to Lansing if you want to input or have your input recorded in the record. You're definitely going to be able to. We'll have the link and everything, and then whatever is people have an opportunity to speak for or against, and they get to. At that point, it's all collected by a court reporter so that we get a record of everything that everybody puts in. There also will be an opportunity on the day of the public record to put in writing. If you said, well, I really don't feel comfortable getting up and standing in front of a group, or that's not my thing, but I could write a letter, I want to write a letter of support, then there's an opportunity, or against, there's an opportunity to send that in and put that into the public record also. And that will come out in the notice. This is a very structured process. When I say very structured, it has to show up in the Michigan registry, and that will hopefully occur on March 1st. We know of a deadline that we had to have that in there, and we'll meet that. And then once that happens, then we have to put it in newspapers, and we have to do it in 3 newspapers specifically across the state, and one has to be in the UP. And typically when we do it in the UP, we'll put it in the mining journal. It's got to be ran in the paper for 10 days in each of the papers. And what that does is that the idea here is to try to get the word out about this hearing. We'll also have it on Gov Delivery, and we'll make sure all the fire organizations, and we'll be talking about it on Wednesday wrap-ups. But the idea is that we're trying to get folks to understand that they have got an opportunity to get involved in some of that. So that's what we're trying to do here with the public hearing. It's going to happen. It's going to happen in March, and we'll give you a whole lot more information as we get closer to that. And then after the public hearing, the next step after that is to actually get it formally introduced into the JCAR process. And the JCAR process, actually there is a JCAR committee. It's made up of members of the House, made up of the Senate, and then it gets entered in. And there's a process they go through. Once they approve the JCAR process, then you have to get session days, and that's that 15 session days that both the House and the Senate meet. So got a little ways to go, but we're getting closer. So Dan and then Robert and I were having a conversation, and they get a lot of phone calls. People want to know, well, how much time do I have left to get that Ed Meth class that I need, or how much time do I have left to get that NIMS for the fire service class I need so that I can get my fire officer series. And the answer is it has to be done by the time the rules go into effect. So the reality is that if we have the hearing in March and then we actually get into the, we actually get into the JCAR process, and then we get some of those session days. Remember, we have to get 15 days. Once that happens, it gets the Great Seal. Once it gets the Great Seal, it goes into effect, and then the new rules will be 100% in effect. So if I was looking at that, I would say the earliest that you probably see the rules done and have enough session days would probably occur, if it doesn't occur by probably the end of May, it would probably occur sometime in September. And why do I bring that up? Because the House and the Senate only meet one day a month in June, July, and August, or one scheduled day. I shouldn't say that they don't meet, because if there was business that had to be taken care of, but they have a scheduled day. So if they met a day in June, we can only get a day there. We can only get a day in July and August typically. And then they come back in September. So House and the Senate typically meet on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And so even in a month of 4 weeks, you only have the potential to get 12 days in a month. Does that make sense to everybody? I see a few of you nodding your head, but I think it's important that you understand the process that is involved with that. So, okay. Holly, what else?
Did you want to touch on Fire Officer 3?
Yeah, we can talk about Fire Officer 3, absolutely. So yesterday there was a few motions made at the council meeting. One of the things as staff, as we continue to develop the Fire Officer 3 program, we are looking at, the Chief Officer book. It's 11 chapters. Fire Officer 3 definitely has JPRs in all 11 chapters. And the JPRs that have to be done in order to get the Fire Officer 3 JPRs meant so you can take the certification test, are going to involve a project. Okay. We think that's the best way to have the person in Fire Officer 3. They'll actually work through a project. It'll involve things like strategic planning. It'll talk about budgeting. It'll talk about different things that you have to do to put things together. One of the things that the council approved yesterday was we felt that in order to supplement the chapters, we have a lot of talent here in the state of Michigan, and we felt that we needed some videos, kind of some TED Talk type things. And I know you go on YouTube, TED Talks are usually 10 minutes or less. These might be a little bit longer, but once we know what the curriculum is, we'll ask somebody to, hey, we want somebody to talk about this topic. And there again, we're asking them to follow along in the book too, right? Because the book supports the class, but to share maybe, I don't know, what it was like to build a new fire station. What were some of the things you learned along the way on how you did that and different things. So we'll get those videos shot, and then they'll actually end up on the J&B platform so that when a student goes in to take Fire Officer 3, they'll have their reading assignment, and then they'll also go in, there'll be a couple of videos for each chapter, might be 3-4 videos even for each chapter, and those will support the concepts. The following week after that, then the instructor, it'll be instructor led. The instructor then will bring everybody together. We'll have some canned questions for that week, and then the students will kind of work through the room, and they'll work through answering the questions, because they'll also be doing task sheets that directly tie into this final project. We know after the training council meeting yesterday that your final project will actually get turned into a fire officer subject matter expert. So I'll give you an example. I'm looking on the screen. I see Liam. I'll use Liam Carroll. So he's with Schoolcraft College. He is going to run a program at Schoolcraft. It's going to be a 15-week program because it runs on a semester basis. Liam and his cadre of approved instructors are going to deliver that information to the students. And then the students are going to send their final projects to what will be a subject matter expert training coordinator, and they will actually evaluate it. And there is a rubric, and there's 5 areas of criteria. For some of you that have gone through the National Fire Academy Executive Officer Program, when you write a paper in that program, they'll have a rubric score of 1 to 5. You need 3s or higher in order to pass. So I use one of the areas is graphics. So it says that you build out your final project, and you're supposed to have some data, and you're supposed to produce some graphs. And Kevin Selmeyer doesn't produce any graphs at all. Well, he gets we'll use Dan Hammerberg as the training coordinator SME that your work was sent to. He's going to send it back to Selmeyer, and he's going to go, listen, you didn't obtain a 3 in the graphics. You got a 3 in all the other areas. You need some graphics. You fix the graphics, you will meet the JPRs. I get that back. I build out some graphs. I take the advice that he has. He send it back to Dan. He then approves it. Once the training coordinator, the SME, approves that project, then the person will get a letter that says, hey, Kevin Selmeyer, you now can take the Fire Officer 3 exam. And the Fire Officer 3 exam can be taken anytime there is a written test anywhere in Michigan. So I find out that next weekend there's a Firefighter 1 and 2 test on Friday night at the North Oakland Fire Authority. And I reach out to the training coordinator, and I reach out to Captain Seal, and I said, man, I would really like to take the Fire Officer 3 exam. And they will work with Andrea. They'll get a copy of it. And then I'll show up over there at their facility, and I will take that exam. And then I pass the exam with 70 or higher, I will have Fire Officer 3 status. So does anybody have any questions on Fire Officer 3? Like I said, we're still building it out. We do know that it's going to be a process of covering the 11 chapters in the book with a final project that will go to really a neutral party, right? It won't be the instructor of the course. It'll go to somebody who went through a process to get vetted as a contract training coordinator, SME. So I know at the state, you've seen our training coordinators who are out delivering tests, and I know there's some even on the call today. They do a great job. Not necessarily, they are not going to be the subject matter experts unless they apply for that and they have the criteria to do that. But there's an opportunity probably for many of you that are on the call today. There will be an application process. It's point driven. You either get the points or you don't have the points. And if you don't have the points, you'll know it because the way that it adds up, you submit that with that, and then we will hire training coordinator SMEs to look at the final projects for Fire Officer 3. And our anticipation as we look at the book and we really look into even diving into 4, I don't want to put the cart too far in front of the horse because we got to get 3 done, but very similar project-based stuff for Fire Officer 4. So Fire Officer 1 and 2, pretty typical. You go through the book, you interact with an instructor. Yeah, you have some written assignments now to turn in for Fire Officer 1, Fire Officer 2, but that's all done between you and the instructor. Changes when we get to Fire Officer 3, and now your project gets turned into a subject matter expert. Whether you're taking it at RTC or you're taking it at the Clinton Township Fire Department coordinated by the Macomb County Fire Chiefs. Okay? So thanks for volunteering, Steve Dalton. I'm joking. I see you on the screen. Good to see you, brother. And I just throw that out there that, that's how this is kind of going to roll out. You're going to have the opportunity to take Fire Officer 3 virtually. So potentially the only time you set foot in a brick and mortar building that isn't yours per se is to take your exam. And there will be opportunities though, if somebody wants to do it in-house and they want to have the students come in, can you do it in person? Sure you can. I noticed a poster recently or last week, Bryce Tracy up in Mackinac County is holding a Fire Officer 1 course. He is kind of doing a hybrid. He's doing some online stuff, but he also is having it where they come to the fire station in Mackinac Island. That's great. I'm glad that Bryce is looking to do it that way. And but the reality is you can get Fire Officer 1, 2, and 3 in the very near future virtually and be able to do that from the comforts of your fire station or from home. Okay. Any questions on Fire Officer 3?
I have one.
Yeah, Steve.
When do you think the drop dead date for having that completed is going to be? Because I know I'm going to get asked the question tomorrow.
You mean when do you think we roll it out?
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot for mid-April where it's actually out.
Okay.
Okay. So we're quite a ways along. We had to get some things, kind of the cadence and some different things worked out with council yesterday and some of those motions. So that helps. And then getting the video shot. We'll solicit here soon. I would say probably in the next week for the folks who want to, be the SME. We'll put out what the topics are, and we're asking for people to apply. We are looking for really to get a cross section of those videos. I think it was important. I had conversations with council that, it's people from all over the state. It's different perspectives. And I'll also say this, we've got a lot of people in the fire service, especially outstate, but even in some of the urban areas that are on paid on call departments, but are running major businesses or they're professors and teachers and different things. And, maybe their perspective of coming at it from, hey, I run a business, but I'm also a paid on call fire department firefighter with my station. Or I'm the chief of my paid on call department, but I run, a business in town. So we're looking to kind of get that crossover to get people to do the videos, and everybody that's in the videos will be Michigan people talking to Michigan people. So
Okay.
It should be pretty cool when it's built out.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for asking. All right. Any other questions to this point? All right, Holly, what else do we have?
Tim Seal actually just raised his hand.
Who did? Tim Seal?
Seal.
Hey, Tim, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, boss. How you doing today?
Hey, how are you? I'm well.
Got a couple of questions for you. Mr. Ahonen's in the meeting. I'd like to acknowledge and say hi to him, the great master.
There you go.
Also, is the state or the training council looked at all into the recruitment and retention problems that we're having statewide in the fire service?
So to ask the question is, you say the training council?
The council or the Bureau of Fire Service?
Yeah. I mean, the Bureau of Fire Service, I definitely have had some discussions. I know there's been some discussions at Coalition, which is all the fire groups.
Mhm.
I will also say this, that I know that one of the things that the different fire groups are looking at, how do we move forward? How do we get the people that we need to fill the positions? I think you're going to see some some work it's going to get ramped up in 2021. Okay. But definitely we are looking at that. But I will say this, Tim, and I'll give you an example. And I was telling some folks the other day, and maybe a few of you have heard this, but I was at Lowe's here a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday afternoon, grabbing what I needed for my home improvement project. And I'm on my way out, and I see one of the local fire chiefs, a small paid-on-call department, pretty rural area in northern Kent County. And I said hi to him and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he goes, "Oh, Kevin, I can't get people." He goes, "I get a couple people, I get them trained, I put them through the fire academy, and a year or two later, they're gone." And he goes, "And I don't have a big pool. There's not a lot of people. They've still got a lot of rural area in there, a lot of farms and different things." He says, "So I really don't have a group to pull from." And so he has a need, right? He has a need. He's not getting enough people. I'm walking to my truck and I look up, and here's another fire chief coming at me who's out probably 15 miles away, as far north in the county, but out to the east side of the county. I see Lou. I go, "Lou, how are you?" He goes, "Kevin, great to see you." We talked for a few minutes. I said, "Lou, can I ask you a question?" Now, mind you, it's fresh in my head, right, Tim? Just kind of like you asked. I've got a fire chief who's telling me he can't get people. I said, "Lou," I said, how are you doing on your roster right now?" He goes, "Kevin," he goes, "I'm full." He goes, "I got 6 people last year." He says, "I'm full." And it's kind of interesting, in one department they're full, in one department they're having a heck of a time getting folks. So, and then the other part that I'll hear, and I hear this from folks, is now take career departments. You have to be a firefighter and you have to be a paramedic, right? Those are the minimum requirements. So when I think you look at how do we look at recruiting retention, and it's definitely something we need to work on, there's probably more of, some would say, the recruiting of paramedics and firefighters to meet the career side. There's the paid on call part of it. And even in counties, one part of the county has a different issue than the other part of the county has. What I can share this with you, though, because I had a request for data the other day, there are less people, okay? If you go back to 2018, you take the number of people who took the firefighter 1 and the firefighter 1 and 2 test, okay? So we have that. That's the high water mark number. And then you take the 2020 number, about 16% less people took exams last year. Now, who typically takes firefighter 1 and firefighter 1 and 2 exams? People who go to the fire academy, right? So I kind of think that gives us an idea that we didn't have as many people test, which I think lends to where you start to talk with people that we have a lot of vacancies within the fire service, okay? But there's some folks that are on here today that represent the RTCs. Dan took a call the other day. We got an RTC that wants to run a really big class because they have that many people. And when I talk about a really big class, I'm talking in excess of 40 people. So it's a matter now, somebody who's taking at an RTC is probably more likely to be taking it for maybe a career department, right? Not necessarily, but most of the time. So it's how do we feed into those? And we definitely need to get to work on that. I also know that a lot of the fire service groups are working with the lobbyists that represent the different fire groups to try to get the awareness of the governor, with the idea of putting together a task force who can take this problem straight on. So there is definitely talk out there, Tim. And I also say, I know you belong to a lot of the groups. Reach out to the groups you belong to and express kind of what your feelings are. And I also would ask you this, some solutions too, all right? That's one of those things that it's one thing that we can come forth with a problem, but what are some of the solutions that we have? And, is this an issue across the country? Absolutely. You talk with different people. You're seeing some of the same things. So does it directly, if you want to say go to the Bureau of Fire Service under the fire marshal? Absolutely. I take some ownership in that. And I'm ready to work with folks who want to work on that issue as we work through that. But I also will say this. I also need those of you that are on this call, especially who are fire chiefs, to ask the people in your county to go through and update their rosters. And I'll give you a good example of that. If you had a bunch of people leave your department, go into smoke and make them inactive. Number one, we would like to that, because by making them inactive, they don't show up in the numbers, if that makes sense, so that we're asked. And I think you heard me on a call here a couple of weeks ago, and it's kind of similar to recruiting retention. Cancer presumption. it's probably cheaper to buy cancer presumption for 20,000 firefighters than it is for 30,000. Just saying number wise, right? Because they start to look at the potential. Okay. What is the number? And that is something that we need to start looking at too, of giving you an example. So, you know, I'm gonna ask this. I see a few of you that are on the call from different places. Dave Pelton, will you please unmute? I want to ask you a question. It has to do with staffing.
Go ahead.
Okay. If you were 100% full at the Walker Fire Department in Kent County, how many people would be on your roster?
I would have 60 people on the roster.
Okay, 60 people through 3 fire stations, right, in your system?
Yep.
How many do you have today?
We're 22% down from our optimum 60.
Okay.
We just had a big recruit, but through social media, we brought on 10 people to get to that from 30% down to 22% down.
Okay. So you're 22% down at this point, okay? So,
This point.
Brandon Flynn, I guess this, if you turn on your camera today, I might call on you. So,
There you go.
hey, question, Brandon. Your department, what is the name of your department?
Whitewater Township,
Whitewater Township up in, is that Kalkaska or Grand Traverse?
Grand Traverse.
Okay. How many people can you have on the Whitewater when it's fully staffed?
Budget wise, we could accommodate 15,
And how many do you have today?
11.
11. So you need a few people, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack Johnson.
What's up, Chief?
Grand Rapids Fire Department, how many vacancies right now?
0.
0. So you're fully staffed at this point. You actually had an academy just finished, right?
Correct. They are out on the streets now, counting as manpower. We actually canceled the academy for this year because with the KEEP program, not enough people are leaving to run one.
Okay. All right. Thank you. How about Jake, Traverse City? Where are you guys at?
Right now we're 24 total in suppression. We should be about 27, but those 3 positions just haven't been budgeted. But we've been able to we're at the highest level since I've been here.
Okay. Okay. Steve Dalton, Clinton Township.
And okay, now I'm there.
Yeah.
I muted out for a minute. We've got 67 in suppression, and we're full.
Okay.
But our recent list, we only have 22 people on it. And you know, back when I hired on, I think we had 500 people that tested for 3 openings, and now we have 22 for 6 openings.
Okay. So, you know, you're kind of hearing it kind of. Tim, I guess you asked the question, where are you guys at up at North Oakland?
Our roster can hold 50. We are down to 34.
So you're way down.
Well, it is. And then there's an area department that's down to 16 off of 40. I mean, Southeast Michigan, I can just name, you know, Redford Township can't get people to apply. Liam, you're shaking your head, so I'm sure you're aware of this. Oxford just put out for 5 positions. They only got 1 applicant. It's just going on and on and on.
Yeah. But what's the minimum requirements to apply there?
Firefighter EMT, which is most of Southeast
Okay. Yeah.
or Southeast Michigan. So
Yeah.
you take the EMT away and the need to, you know, donate your time to get your EMS credits, maybe a little different.
Yeah. I have a 19-year-old that I have that discussion about every other night at dinner about why you should take your EMT class next. He's got MFR, but, you know, he wants to be a firefighter, but he doesn't qualify at that point, right? So, you know, that's one of the things, too, of, you know, getting people trained to that level. Ted, up in the Upper Peninsula, how many people on your roster?
We've got 15. Just had a guy come out of the community, a really great guy that just called me up cold, and he just joined the department last week. And I think we're about right.
So 15 is about the number you usually float at? Okay.
And the other thing, Kevin, to get the highest priority on the recruitment and retention grants that are out there, they require you to have them certified both Fire 1 and 2 and EMT.
Yep. So definitely, I mean, there's definitely some work that we need to do. And I'll take this as, you're bringing it up. I'm going to reach out to next coalition meeting to kind of see where we're at and look at where we can go with increasing that number. Jeff, in Iron Mountain, where are you guys at staffing wise?
We're actually down. We've got 8 full-time and 7 part-time employees, and we're down. We at one point had 19 part-time.
Okay. So 19 down to 7?
Yes.
Okay.
And there is nobody knocking on the door. I can't pay people.
Yeah.
No, we can't either. Kevin, who's Jack?
Jack Johnson?
I don't know. Jack.
Or Jack. Oh, you mean Jack on the screen? I don't know.
Look in the chat window. He's down 15 with 23 up for retirement.
Yeah. Yeah, Jack, can you unmute?
Is that maybe Jack White?
That could be.
I'm just curious.
It's not Shelby Benona.
No, it's not Shelby. Speaking of Shelby Benona and Oceana County up along the lakeshore, where are you at staffing wise these days?
I've got 15, but 2 off on medical and 1 on National Guard deployment, so I'm down to 12. And that's, I'm hoping to get back up to about 16 or 18. I'm allowed 26, but we're never going to see 26 again. If I can get to 18, I'm happy.
Okay, so you're looking at 18, and that's where. Okay.
We've got a couple departments in our county that are down below 10.
Okay.
Kevin, that was Stan Parker.
Yeah, I see that. Stan Parker is. Yep. So you start looking at it, and there again, it's a number of people that are applying, right? That are or not applying. It's definitely something that is of concern to a lot of folks.
Hey, Kevin, Dave Murray.
Yeah, Dave Murray.
We can go up to 25. We're at 24 now.
Okay.
But we only average 3 people a call. So how do you fix that? Anybody got a suggestion? Our numbers are the highest it's been in 30 years, and you see 3 people. 6 o'clock at night, there's a PI, and you see 5.
Yep. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know my stint before the fire marshal, I was running with the Cortland Township Fire Department in Kent County, and during the day it was the chief and I. And when I first got involved in that, it was a couple times I was out running errands, and it's like I better head that way because I know it's only going to be the chief. And I think very similar to what you're talking about, Dave, without a doubt. Liam, what's your perspective for students look like at Schoolcraft?
We're down a bit. Even before COVID, I would say we were down. I think part of it was the recession pushed people out of the industry when contracts started getting cut. The attractiveness wasn't there. And then when I speak with the kids who are here, why aren't their friends coming into the fire service? A lot of it has to do with the jobs that are available to them on the internet nowadays. You can become an influencer. You can become a professional gamer. You can do a lot of things and stay in mom's basement until you're 30 years old and never actually break a sweat. And I tend to think that's where a lot of what we've lost has gone to. So we're down, and we're down because of COVID, but we were down before that too.
Okay. Hey, Josh Mosier, I see you're on here. What's Midland look like these days?
So we are at authorized 45. We're at 44. We had an open position that we're actually interviewing candidates Friday for. We had 1 open position. We had 38 applications. We're firefighter EMT requirement. That's down from when I started 8 years ago. We had about 110 apply for the position.
That's what I hear from a lot of folks. The pool is just definitely not there like it was years and years ago. Hey, what are you in the Northern Chiefs? So you got a SAFER grant to work on recruiting?
We do. It's Bill Forbush, chief out of Alpena.
Yep.
and he's working with Michigan Rural EMS on it. They hired Chris Peterson, who is up in the UP now, former DNR officer, to kind of run it. I don't know a whole lot about it. Bill, this is kind of Bill's baby, but I know Chris was working with 4 marketing students and a professor from Western Michigan on creating some marketing materials to for the fire service to use. It was geared for both fire and rural EMS. So, but yeah, we got, I believe, 2 safer grants, one to study it and then one to implement it. And that's what we're working on now, is to implement it.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Anybody else want to jump in on the topic?
It's Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy, go ahead.
Hi. I just went there. I got 35 spots. I got 35 signed on. I got about 7 active. Kind of hearing what some of you were saying, and it's probably higher than 7, but not much, that routinely make calls that you can count on. When COVID hit, I lost anybody and everybody that worked in the professional field somewhere else. Cops, ambulance, and fire. So that did hurt us, but this is not a new problem for us. I can keep my roster full all the time. It's getting active people. And in our end of it, we're hearing more and more, it's the medical requirements that are driving them out.
Okay.
Not the fire, but the medical. So,
gotcha.
A little bit different.
Hey, Kevin, John Cieslik from Rochester Fire.
Yeah, John, absolutely. Welcome.
Hey, Kevin, I think I echo with most of the other guys. You know, we're filling spots, but it's not like the old days. You know, right. I don't want to date myself, but when I got on the fire department, Rochester had 18 members, and I asked the chief one day why we don't put new guys on, and he said, because I know all 18 of you guys show up. You know, now we carry 42, and I'm lucky if, I do have full-time staff, but if I get 1 or 2 POCs, I'm lucky. So I think the trend seems to be, we're filling spots, but how dedicated are the folks once they get engaged with the fire business? Right. Makes it a lot more difficult. So I think that's going to be what we're going to be faced with for the future, Kevin.
Right. No, I agree. Definitely.
Kevin, if I can add maybe?
Yeah, Liam, absolutely.
A little bit of chatter on the side has been about tuition. Just a reminder, the state has that Reconnect program. You can send your people to a local college-based RTC, and it's covered too under the vocational trades part of the Reconnect program. So departments that are struggling with the ability to pay for training, you can put that training on the Reconnect.
Okay. It's just a matter, they've got to fill out the paperwork with the state, and then it has to be a college, or it has to be a trade school in your district, right? I mean, that is one of the requirements. Okay.
Yeah, they'll pay for the going rate in the area. There's some other requirements: age 25, never a degree before, in good standing with no outstanding loans to colleges. But it's one more tool in the toolbox for the people who are struggling.
No, absolutely. Definitely. Will that work for EMT class? Okay. Thank you.
Now then unmute myself, but yes.
Okay. All the way up through paramedic?
Yeah, I believe it'll cover anything that's trade oriented, that's through a community college. So it's got to have credit hours attached to it.
Got it.
And I know that doesn't work for the county programs and the departmental programs, but for some people that'll work. So
yeah,
one more way of incentivizing the future people to join up.
No, I'm glad you're bringing that up. Thank you. That's good to know. Okay.
Kevin, I was just reached out to by a coalition for this that I think I'm going to get involved with, and
good.
Hopefully, maybe we get through to FEMA on some of the needs that are going on. Most importantly, that was mentioned was. Seems like a lot of the departments have a core group of maybe 10 people that show up to everything. And the biggest thing from a bureau standpoint is safety. You know, I did a near miss video last month with a surrounding department where the host department had a big department on a structure fire and 6 people showed up. The neighboring department showed up, I went in and there was a collapse and the guy darn near lost his life. And it's just, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, there's definitely safety in numbers in this business, without a doubt. Right? Have enough people to do the tasks that need to be done. Absolutely. And I think if you're looking, Tim, I don't know if you've been looking in the chat, but a lot of people are chiming in on what they got staffing wise and stuff. Holly, will you do me a favor? Will you make sure that you save the chat at the end of this call, please? Okay.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah, Robert, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm really good.
We've been down for about 15 years, anywhere from 6 to 10 members. And fortunately, in the last year, I've been able to hire 9. So we're only down 2 from our budgeted of 82 plus 7 in admin. And that was largely due to the support of our city council and mayor and being able to go back to a better benefit package with a defined benefit pension. So that really turned on the faucet of people applying back to Livonia again.
Right. Okay. So we're kind of winding it down. I mean, we're coming up on 5 o'clock. We can keep going, but just to share, time wise, I would ask one request, and this is coming from the training division at the Bureau of Fire Services, and it comes back to early on, right? Trying to find out how many people you really have and stuff. I would ask you, for the chiefs that are on here, and you're involved even in your chiefs associations in your county, maybe the next meeting to ask that the fire chiefs go in and actually look and smoke and see who is listed for their department. And if somebody has left, to please make them inactive, okay? And also the inactive part is important because down the road, let's say somebody, they move, they take a job someplace else, and then they look at getting on the department where they moved to, we actually then can get that turned on or turned back on for them and get them moved over there. And Dan and Robert will be able to help you with that. But we do have some stuff, video online, even how to do that. What we don't want is somebody to go to a department from another department and then create a whole nother record and smoke. And yes, that happens a lot. I see Dan smiling. And when I say smiling, it really messes things up because there again, are you active over here or inactive? So once you're in smoke, if you can't find that person as a fire chief, please, if you've talked to them and they tell you they've been a firefighter someplace in the state of Michigan, that's a please call Dan or call Robert call right there, because we definitely don't want to add another name into the database, please, based on the fact that we're trying to pull data back out of that. And it's not been the easiest to do that in. Okay. All right. Any other things? Go to the order. Anything? Anybody wants to talk about?
Hey, Kevin, Dave Murray.
Yeah.
We've got fit testing scheduled for Monday, and one of our guys called today and said he thought he had heard that they were going to put fit testing off for a year because of the possibility of COVID being spread. I don't know if anybody had heard any of that or not.
The fire marshal hasn't heard that. I've had some calls for some people who have reached out, and that would be when you get into fit testing. That actually is under the respiratory standard, and I would direct you to reach out to MyOSHA, please.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yep. So I see in there, Charlie put in there, Troy is down. Looks like 26 volunteers in the Troy system and down 4 careers. So, if you look across the board, Carrie out of Flint, thanks for chiming in and sharing. They're down 10, but looks like you got an academy coming up. So that's good. Will you get all 10 back or? Good. Excellent. So, hey, Carrie, can I ask you a question? So I'm pretty excited because we have somebody right here in the state of Michigan that's representing a national organization. So will you kind of let everybody know you're the standing president for which group right now?
It's the International Association of Black Professional Firefighters.
All right. So Carrie Edwards right here in Flint, Michigan is the standing president of that organization. Yes. So what are you hearing within your organization? Is staffing something that's being talked about or lack thereof?
Yes. We just did a recruitment and we may have had 60 people, and our recruitments run 400 and 500 easily. And so I think one of the candidates said they're making more money on unemployment at this time than they would be making with my department. And I couldn't even argue with them because that's what they're saying my issues are. We're not offering enough money and they're getting enough money right now. But we can't wait until the money runs out. We need some people right now.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I know you do.
So we're trying to, and we're starting basic. We're doing our own fire and EMT course here.
Okay. Yeah.
So that we can give those firefighters that only have fire an opportunity to get EMT here.
Okay.
So we're trying to bait and hook. So we'll take you fire 1 and 2, and if you don't have EMT, come here and get it. So, but we're having difficulty finding.
Has the tests and stuff been given? You're kind of in the hiring process now. We talk about the end of February. So this group, but you continue to have people that are going to retire, much like Grand Rapids, its averages about 8 people a year retire.
Yes.
Unless they stick around for the KEEP program, from what I understand. But
yeah, but COVID has stopped that as well. A lot of people that were going to retire took a hit at the beginning of COVID. And so it kind of spoiled their retirement plans. No, they're still here.
They're still here. Okay.
Yeah, they're still here. Trying to recoup some of that loss.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? Michigan Fire Service. We're coming up. It's about a couple minutes to 5.
I've got a question.
Yeah, Ted.
So our department had a need for 2 800 megahertz radios, handhelds, which is a big deal for us. It's a lot of money.
Yep.
And as we're going through the process here, we're learning that it's going to take up to 4 months to get it programmed in Lansing. I had no idea that there was such a time lag. Do you have any idea what the cause is for that long delay?
Yeah. So the state of Michigan had a hiring freeze, right? It went into effect back in March, and it was just lifted the 30th of January. So DTMB, which is it's a big group within state government. I mean, they take care of the fleet of vehicles of state employees take care of all the buildings, all the computer stuff within the state, but also within the radio system. So, and one of the issues is that you have a whole bunch of people that are coming up for retirement. They were doing the radio programming, but they weren't allowed to fill those positions. You talk about being down. I sit on the interoperability radio committee for the state as the fire marshal. It's a seat on there. And I think Ed Miller's on the call today too. And Matt Sarr, who's out of East Point, is on there representing the fire service. And we were pretty amazed when the director of the radio system was reaching back out, Brad Stoddard, and he was sharing with us that he had 30 some vacancies within that. So that's the problem right now, Ted, is that literally the people that were programming radios, the people that were installing radios and stuff, they lost a lot of those folks. So they're training new people, which is putting it further behind. And the other problem that they have right now is that more and more counties want to come online and use the state radio system for their paging system, which they actually have counties that are waiting. They can't put the counties on fast enough. And they would love to have all 83 counties. So this isn't a case of, this does concern Brad. And I'll do a little following up. I need to follow up with him something on a phone. I know he got a chance to hire some people because even during the freeze, they had some essential, but I'm pretty sure he's still got quite a few vacancies. And there again, his vacancies were double digits. So. Okay.
Yeah.
Questions? All right, everybody. Well, thanks for being here today. Hopefully we filled you in. We'll get more information out on when that public hearing will be for the rules coming up. It'll be in March. And I am listening. Holly's taking notes. And I'll definitely bring that up next time at coalition meeting to talk about how we get, how we move some of this recruiting retention stuff ahead, because it definitely needs to be answered. So Holly, you're going to save the chat, please, because I think it's good to see some of these numbers of Mike Burke is on. I see Elba Fire Department can have 39, or they have 39 and they can carry 41. That's over in Lapeer County. So to kind of put that in perspective. And then Liam, thank you for putting on there about some of the college stuff that's available out there. I also want to give a big shout out. My arm's feeling it right now. I don't have my sling on, and I'm going to go put it back on. But I want to thank those of you who reached out to me. I had rotator cuff surgery. Tomorrow will be 14 days ago. The pain is gone. That's a great thing. Now the fun starts, they tell me, with the rehab and everything else. But thank you for reaching out and asking and following up, and the patience with the Bureau of Fire Services too, as we continue to work through some stuff. I can tell you the staff is working hard. I see Andrea join. There she is. Thank you very much. She kept very busy with the council meeting yesterday with taking notes and stuff. So with that, we're going to say goodbye from Holly Metz and I from the Bureau of Fire Services, along with the rest of our staff. Thanks for tuning in. And we're back tonight at 7 o'clock. Pass the word, if you would, in social media. Maybe get on your Facebook page and let your friends and stuff know that there's an opportunity if they want to chat with the fire marshal tonight, 7 p.m. I think it'll be basically the same link they had today, right, Holly? Just it restarts it this afternoon or tonight. So, and if we don't see you tonight, we'll see you next week, or 2 weeks, I should say, when we come back. And then also a week from Friday, it's Friday with MI Prevention. We're going to have 3 gentlemen. We're going to have Rick out of Ohio. We're going to have Ben out of Tennessee. We're going to have Michael Anderson out of the great state of Texas. And they're going to talk about the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation, the Everyone Goes Home program, and what is available for. So that will be the 1 hour topic, and they're going to kind of give you a history where we're at on all that. So that's on the 19th at 2 p.m. for It's Friday with MI Prevention. All right, everybody, take care. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Get your shots. See ya.